In this video, I would like to talk about the center-state financial relations. So, we are talking about the center-state relations. We have seen the legislative relations. We have seen the administrative relations. Now, we are talking about the third and vital financial relations. So, the heading is the financial relations. Now, a new twist or a new development in the financial relation is the introduction of the GST. I will be talking about that definitely. So, let us see the constitutional provisions related to the finance. See, please remember, we talk about legislative autonomy, we talk about administrative autonomy, and we also talk about the financial autonomy. But as far as our constitution is concerned, the way the constitutional provisions are there, when it comes to the financial autonomy, states are almost entirely dependent on the center. As far as if you look at the three different relations we talked, like legislative relation, administrative relation, and say the financial relation. Among the three, when it comes to the financial relation, the states are almost entirely dependent on the center. The states are almost entirely depend on the states are almost entirely depend on the center when it comes to the finances. In fact, there are 3-4 ways in which the states used to get the funds. Please remember, one is the allocation, the share of the tax. Just to have an idea, I am just telling you the share of the taxes or the revenue of the center, the Finance Commission will be deciding. Finance Commission, Article 280 will give a share of the taxes to the states. Then earlier, when the Planning Commission used to be there, Planning Commission allocations used to be there. These days Niti Aayog is there, but they are not allocating any funds. Earlier, till 2014, Planning Commission played a very crucial role. Those capital investment in a state, it used to be decided through the Planning Commission, and the states, state chief ministers used to submit the plans with the Planning Commission, and Planning Commission used to approve and allocate. So, Planning Commission used to play a role, but now Planning Commission is not there. Now, no Planning Commission. So, that itself is a debatable issue. I personally feel that there should be a Planning Commission, there should be allocation of funds, because you need a central planning. India is a poor country. India has, we need to go, we have to travel a lot. We have to achieve a lot. We are at least 100 years behind most of the developed countries. We need planning. See, if you are preparing for civil service exam, don't you think you need planning in time management, how much to study in what subject? Definitely we need planning. Similarly, even for India, see, there are a lot of disparities between various states in our country. Some states are comparatively developed, some states are not so developed. Don't you think we need some planning? Yes, we need planning. Niti Aayog, the kind of work which is being done, and many experts are questioning. See, rather than giving some broad idea and leaving everything to the states to perform, many a times the states may not be performing with that kind of expectation, or rather we may not have the best of the chief ministers. They may not have a vision for the country, they may not have a vision for that kind of development. And in the process, if some states are left behind, that is always a problem. So, Planning Commission should have been there, but anyway, Planning Commission is not there. Now, Niti Aayog, its role is different. So, one is the share of the taxes, second was the Planning Commission allocation for the capital investment and all. Third is the centrally sponsored schemes. Lot of Prime Minister's Yojana these days, her program, in every program, Prime Minister, hundreds of such programs are there in our country, where, MNR is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, or National Food Safety Act, Food Security Act. Like this, there are hundreds of centrally sponsored schemes where center will give some fund, states also will give. That is how the center gives some funds to the states. And the fourth is grants in aid. Grants in aid Article 275, I will be talking it separately. So, there are 4 ways in which centers fund used to, but everywhere, see, you can see this, planning commission, see the finance commission, the share of the taxes almost, now the latest finance commission, almost 41% of the center taxes, centers taxes will be shared with the states. So, centers revenue will be shared with the states. Similarly, planning commission used to go for capital investment. Nowadays it is not there, but that is included in the what you call in the sharing of the tax thing itself. Then centrally sponsored schemes, grants in aid, these are the ways in which the states used to get some finance, and in almost in every case states are dependent on the center when it comes to this financial relations. Now let us look into what are the constitutional provisions related to sharing, related to the sharing of the finance between the center and the states. So, coming to the constitutional provisions, related to finance in as far as the center and the states are concerned. That is the discussion. So, Article 268, what is still there? So, even though when the GST came, things have changed, I will come to that separately. So, Article 268, it says duties levied by the union, but collected and appropriated by the states. Duties levied by the union. The union is levying the duty, but collected and appropriated by the states. Collected also and appropriated by the states. Duties levied by the union, but collected and appropriated by the states. One good example is a stamp duty. Stamp duty, as far as the the registration of properties and all concerned, duties levied by the center, levied by the union, but collected and appropriated by the state. Article 268 deals with that. One good example is the stamp duty, and in which the state will be collecting, but the proceeds of in any financial year of such duty will not be added in the consolidated fund of India. It is not part of the consolidated fund of India, not part of CFI, consolidated fund of India, it should be assigned to that state only. So, Article 268 says duties levied by the union, but collected and appropriated by the state. Then there used to be, now it is not there, Article 268A, it used to be, it has been removed, it is a service tax. There used to be the provision for service tax, but not available right now. This provision was removed by the 101st Amendment Act, that is the GST when it came, 101st Amendment Act removed Article 268A. 268A is no more in prevalence, it has been removed by the GST Act. Then Article 269. Article 269 says taxes levied and collected by the union. Earlier it was levied by the union, collected and appropriated by the states. Now taxes, Article 269 talks about taxes levied by the union, collected by the union. Taxes levied by the union, collected by the union, but assigned to the states, assigned to the states. Okay. So, 100% taxes are given to the states. What is the difference between 268 and 269? 268, you please see, it says duties levied by the union, but collected and appropriated by the, collection work is also done by the state, using by the state. But here what is happening, 269, taxes are levied by the union, collected also by the union only, but assigned 100% given to the states. So, for example, there are many. One is the succession, the duty on succession of property. Some of the example I will give, duty on succession of property. Levied by the union, collected by the union, but assigned to the states or other than aggregate. Then estate duty. Estate duty. This is large properties where if a person dies without handing over the property to the next generation, if the property is to be transferred from one person to another after death, we call it estate duty. Then there is another example called a terminal tax. Terminal tax on goods or passengers carried by rail, airfare. That means if an aircraft is terminating in a particular state, suppose Delhi to say Bangalore, if that aircraft is terminating in that city, there can be terminal tax imposed by the state, or other the sender will impose the tax, it will collect and it will assign to the state. Terminal tax on railways, sea or air. Sea, that means for ships, for airways there can be terminal tax. Then taxes on railway fares and freights. Railway fares on freight. In all these cases, some of the examples of these Article 269 where the center will levy and collect, then assign to the states. So, Article 269 talks about taxes levied by the union, collected by the union and assigned to the states. So, 268 levied by the union, collected and appropriated by the state. Now, 269 is different. Now, coming to 270. There is also 269A is there. Now, that is part of the 101th Amendment Act, 269A. I will come to that separately. 101st Amendment Act. That is where on interstate trade and commerce, center can, it is on interstate trade and commerce. The center, the levying and collection of goods and service tax in course of interstate trade, okay, interstate trade and commerce, the center will be imposing that tax. I will be talking about 269A separately. So, you need not worry about this 269A. Let us come to 270. 270 taxes levied and distributed between the union and the states. Now, in 270, it is very interesting, Article 270, it is taxes levied by the center, collected by the center, but distributed. It is not 100% given to the states. 269 was 100% given to the states. Now, here distributed between center and the states. Now, there will be a distribution. Center also will use, states also will use. But what is the percentage of that distribution? What is the share? What is the formula? That Finance Commission will decide. Please remember how to distribute, how much money to be distributed in 270, that is decided by the Finance Commission. So, some of the examples are, any tax or duties referred in the union list. So, that is 270, any tax related to referred in the union list. Then any surcharge on taxes, any surcharge, additional tax, surcharge on income tax, beyond a particular income there is a surcharge. Also any cess levied on specific purpose, see education cess, any cess levied for special purpose. So, this tax is for special purpose, any cess levied for special purpose, any surcharge, additional income, it will be distributed, Article 270. So, this can be distributed between the union and the states, and it will be the manner in which it has to be distributed, it will be decided by the Finance Commission. So 271 article, so it is taxes levied by the center, collected by the center, but distributed between center and the states. Article 271 specifically talks about surcharge. It is specifically about surcharge. The constitutional provision for surcharges on certain duties and taxes for the purpose of the union. The union can levy surcharges, that is clearly mentioned in article 271. And also 272 was there, but that has been repealed. Article 272 repealed. That is talking about taxes levied by the union, collected by the union, and may be distributed with the center and the state. So 270 was, it is distributed. It is a mandatory to distribute. Now in 72 it was may be distributed. Now you need not worry about this. Why? Because this has already been repealed. This has been repealed in year 2008. That is the 80th Amendment Act. Okay, this 272 was repealed through 80th Amendment Act. So it is not very important. So article 272 is no more in application. We are not interested in that. And finally, article 275, that deals with grants in aid. Grants in aid. Grants in aid from the union to certain states, special purpose states, the hill states, the northeastern states, the states which are at a geographical disadvantage, maybe border states. Such states are given grants in aid, that comes under article 275, grants in aid under article 275. And then article 280, that deals with finance commission. So these were some of the provisions in the Indian constitution related to the sharing of the finance till the goods and service tax were introduced. Okay. So now let us talk about the 101st Amendment Act 2016. 101st Amendment Act 2016, and it came into the National Goods and Service Tax. It came into being from 1st July 2017. So 101st Amendment Act 2016, it deals with the GST, Goods and Service Tax, and it came into being from 1st July 2017. GST, obviously that is the Goods and Service Tax. It is an indirect tax. I mean, if you are asked what is GST, if you are asked, please note, it is an indirect tax which has replaced many taxes in India, such as excise duty. Then it has replaced VAT, value added tax, service tax, etc. Excise duty, VAT, service tax, etc. It is replaced. It is an all encompassing, all inclusive indirect tax. So that is GST. So goods and service tax is levied on the supply of goods and services, for goods as well as services, and it is a comprehensive multi-stage destination based tax. If you are asked to define, we can say it is a comprehensive, then it is multi-stage, multiple level, multiple stage, multi-stage destination based. Suppose, just to give an example, suppose some item is manufactured in Gujarat, but if it is consumed in Tamil Nadu, then the taxation will take, the final end user will be paying the tax and Tamil Nadu will be using that tax. So it is a destination based tax and it is levied on every value addition, destination based, and it is levied on every value addition, on every value addition. It is levied on every value addition. So it is a single domestic indirect tax for the entire country, and it has removed, as I told, it has removed many of these. So it has removed the cascading effect on the sales of goods and services. Otherwise, earlier there used to be tax over tax. So the removal of the cascading effect has impacted the cost of the goods. See, now earlier it was, suppose in the manufacturing, suppose goods are purchased, at that time some tax is there, and so suppose I purchase something for 100 rupees as a raw material, and if there is a 10% tax on that, so I already spent 110 rupees. Now, when I convert this into a finished product, and if I try to sell at 200, on 200 you are paying the tax at that time. So, even the 10 rupee which I paid tax, and on that you are paying further tax. So, that is what we call a cascading effect, and so GST has removed the cascading effect on the sale, and they removed the cascading effect. Cascading effect on the sale of goods and services. So, removal of the cascading effect has impacted on the cost of the goods. I mean, it will reduce the cost, and since the GST regime eliminates the tax on tax, the cost of the goods can decrease. That is the idea behind the GST. The cost on goods can actually reduce because tax over tax is avoided. But unfortunately, in our country, the GST itself is so high. See, earlier two things happened in India, just for your, I mean, as a off the cut remark I would like to make here. One, the GST rates are very high. This is a big problem in India. They should have kept when the idea of GST was negotiated in the early 2000, in the first decade by the previous UPA government, the total tax they talked about was 7% by center and 5% by states. The total tax on any item would have been 12%. Now, almost every item it is 18% tax. Some of them are 28% and some of them are even beyond that. So, this, had we kept the taxes at a lower rate, the compliance also would have been better and the cost would not have gone up. Now, unfortunately, because of this very high tax imposed at minimum of almost in every case it is 18%. So, this has created, this has not helped in reducing the tax. That is number one. Number two, there used to be lot of tax evasion earlier. The small manufacturers and all, they were avoiding tax by manufacturing things without paying any tax. Now, when everything has come to the tax net, the profit of the small manufacturers has gone down dramatically. They were making money through avoiding tax and all. Now, that has also, that is why many small scale industries got closed down, because they are not able to survive when they pay this GST and they are not able to compete with the big manufacturers. Anyway, there are some of the issues, but ideally we should have kept the tax low, so that maximum number of people should have been in the tax net, but that we have failed miserably, we can say. Anyway, so that is how the GST has started, and this 101st Amendment Act, 3 articles were inserted into the Indian Constitution. One is Article 246A. 246A says that Parliament and the state legislative assembly or legislatures of the state, Parliament as well as state legislatures, Parliament as well as state legislatures have the power to make laws with respect to goods and service tax imposed by the union or by the state. So, both have powers, Parliament as well as state legislators, both have power to impose GST, goods and service tax. So, both of them are given this power. So, Parliament has exclusive power to make law with respect to goods and service tax, where the supply of goods or services or both take place in the interstate trade and commerce. So, in interstate trade and commerce, Parliament has exclusive right. Interstate trade and commerce, Parliament has exclusive right. Whereas, if it is within the state, states have exclusive. So, now, see, earlier what happening was that the taxes were levied when, if an item is in the central list, the center will levy the tax. If an item is in the state list, the states will levy the tax. But now, the taxation, according to Article 246A, tax has become a concurrent list object thing, whereby both center and the states can levy goods and service tax, that is Article 246A. Similarly, Article 269A, a second article introduced, Article 269A, it once again says that 269A says goods and service tax on supply of interstate trade and commerce, GST on interstate trade and commerce. The GST on interstate trade and commerce shall be levied and collected by the Government of India, shall be levied and collected by the Union, by the Government of India, and such tax shall be appropriated between the Union and the state. Then it has to be shared between the Union and the states in a manner provided by the Parliament by law. So, this appropriation should be between the center and the states. Appropriation should be between the center and the states in a manner provided by the Parliament on the recommendations of the Goods and Service Tax Council, GST Council, in a manner prescribed by or provided by the Parliament, manner provided by the Parliament. Okay, so we are talking about 269A specifically talks about GST on interstate trade and commerce will be levied by the center, but it will be appropriated between the center and the states in a manner provided by the Parliament, in a manner provided by the Parliament, but on a recommendation from the GST Council. So, now a new constitutional body called GST Council, we are talking here on the recommendation of the GST Council. So, again I am repeating, 269A says the GST, goods and service tax on interstate trade and commerce can be levied by the Parliament, and it will be appropriated between the center and the states in a manner provided by law by the Parliament. Parliament will provide a law, but that law will be on the basis of the recommendation of the GST Council. So, that is 269A. Now, finally 279A. This is the GST Council. How the GST Council is to be constituted? That is 279A. The President of India within 60 days from the date of commencement of this 101st Amendment Act, within 60 days of the implementation of the 101st Amendment Act, the GST, a GST Council, a council should be created called the Goods and Service Tax Council. So, 279A talks about the GST Council, the President of India shall constitute, and the details are given. So, that is, I will be talking about the GST Council bit separately, I will be talking in a separate video, and whether it is GST is affecting the autonomy of the states and all, I will be discussing that. So, 3 articles were added. 246A, I am repeating, 246A says that 246A, please see here, 246A says that Parliament as well as the state legislatures can impose GST. Then 269A says the GST on interstate trade and commerce will be levied by the Parliament, and it will be shared between the center and the states, but in a manner provided by law by the Parliament, but on a recommendation of the GST Council. Now, 279A says the GST Council should be constituted by the President of India within 60 days of the implementation of Constitutional Amendment Act 101. So, these are the provisions of this 101 Amendment Act. So, what is the conclusion? Now, let me talk about the the final conclusion we can make from the 101 Amendment Act or 101st Amendment Act. After the amendment, the Parliament and the state legislatures will have concurrent powers in making law. The first point, according to 246A, both Parliament and the state legislatures have concurrent power when it comes to GST. Concurrent powers. So, only the central government can impose the central GST or the integrated GST, they call it IGST. If it is if it is for only the center may be levying an integrated GST on the interstate supply of goods and services, on interstate supply, on interstate supply of goods and services. Then alcohol for human consumption has been exempted from GST. So, it is not under the states are free to impose tax on alcohol. Alcohol for human consumption exempted from GST. That means the states are free to tax the way they want. The percentage of the taxes will be different in different states. The states are free to impose. Then the GST Council, the third point, the GST Council under 279A, the GST Council under article 279A, they will recommend the rates of tax, the period of levy of additional tax, the principles of supply, special provisions, etc., etc. Everything will be decided by the GST Council, and the GST Council has the manner in which the council is to be made and all, we will be discussing it separately. And the fourth point is it also empowers the center to impose an additional tax of up to 1%. An additional, center can impose an additional tax up to 1% on the interstate supply of goods for 2 years or more. This tax will occur to states from where the supply originates. I mean, initially to compensate the states, and also the parliament may compensate by law for compensate for any loss incurred by the states as far as the tax collection is concerned. So, all these provisions were given in the 101st Amendment Act. So, 3-4 final points I would like to say. One is article 246A, the GST tax can be imposed by both center and as well as the states. So, interstate trade, it is integrated GST if there is interstate trade and commerce. Alcohol is still kept outside the human consumption. GST Council is created under 279A, and GST Council will give a recommendation to the parliament, and parliament will be imposing that, and additional tax up to 1% on interstate supply of goods and services for at least 2 years or more. It has been permitted to ensure that whatever compensation is required or whatever shortfall in the tax collection may be in the initial years, that is what is mentioned there also. So, these are some of the provisions. So, this is what. So, please remember right from article 268, I talked about 268, then article 269, I talked about 270, 279, 271 is the surcharge, and then 272 has been repealed, I already said. So, then 275 I talked about, that is the grants in aid. 280, that is the Finance Commission, I will be talking separately. Then as far as the 101st Amendment Act, 246A, 269A and 279A. So, these are the main articles which decide the finance relation or the relation as far as the finance is concerned between the center and the states. These are the articles, these are the constitutional provision which are related to the financial relation between center and the states. Now, I will be talking in a separate video about the GST Council and the issues related to the financial autonomy or GST and the GST Council and the issues related to the financial autonomy. I will be talking separately. So, in this video, I predominantly talked about the constitutional provisions related to sharing of finance between center and the states.